Well, ladies and gentlemen, finally it has returned. The Walking Dead is back for its third season and looks to be continue to improve. Season centering on the prison, probably going to be known, just as some people call last season the farm season, this will probably be known as the prison season. And of course, with the show being back, so does my planned weekly review podcast of it. So, episode 1, a very, very good opening episode with plenty of zombie killing. I mean, it really does show when they open it up that they've gotten increasingly efficient at zombie killing, to the point where they're like not even really caring. The only downside of that is it doesn't make Michonne's character look as badass as she's supposed to be. If in she was kind of supposed to be presented as the survivor, the one that's really got it down pat, more so than anyone else. And by having everyone else kind of really easily kill the zombies extremely efficiently, like, hey, this is just another day of zombie killing, it does take a bit away from her own scenes where she looks like she's just basically on par with everyone else, as opposed to being more extraordinary. Which is kind of what her character's purpose is supposed to be. Oh, here's someone that's really figured out how to survive in this world. We don't really get that from her in this episode. Maybe they'll have more of those moments when she comes in contact with the group. That her edge, which is really her whole purpose of her character, will come forward when that happens. Speaking of her, we really didn't get much interaction other than she really only two scenes. We had one scene of her doing like in the convenience store getting some Advil, killing a couple of zombies, showing she was very efficient. But like again, we'd seen the main group with Rick and everyone kill more zombies in a similar manner. However, and then the second scene, we learn that of course Andrea is now sick. She's needing medicine. We do get more of a sense of the time period that has passed by, where they say we have, it's apparently they've skipped over winter, so it's a couple of months later, which is a kind of a good thing to have with Rick's son. The big problem with shows like this and children characters is that the kids aging really, really becomes noticeable very quickly after a couple seasons. And the timeline for how the show was originally going it was really only been a couple of months for the first two seasons. It's like, probably, I think even from the outbreak, it's only like a month or two. It's like 2, maybe 3 months max by the end of the second season. But yet, child characters, they age. This was the same problem Lost had, where they had they had children characters in there, and they were only supposed to be there a few weeks. They start really growing fast, which is why I suspect that they're not going to want to bring any more major children characters in unless they're only there for like one season. But doing the big jump does a few things. I guess one, it allows them to not have to film in the winter, although they're in Georgia. I have been in, well, not Georgia, but South Carolina in February. Yeah, it's cold in the morning, but it's not that it's not that bad. Granted, Georgia's even further south, so I don't know if the winter thing in Georgia is. I'm sure there'll be a few Georgians who will be on here complaining, it's bad. Like, if you guys think winter in Georgia is bad, come back up. Come to Jersey. Come to Jersey for winter. Or even better yet, go to Minnesota or something like that for the winter. But as I'm sorry, I get distracted because we have I'm watching the repeat of the show right now. Speaking of, I guess I should go into. We really haven't seen the Ricktatorship that they promised us. Yeah, Rick's making a lot of the calls and such, but we really don't get the sense that he's a dictator like they kind of wanted to make it implied. Maybe that'll be more of a build up after they've established their hold on the prison. Because I think that was kind of a fun thing we were all looking for. We kind of do see, though, and this is a great job by the actors, and this goes to how it's supposed to be 6 months later, the stress on these guys. Their clothing looks much more disheveled. We've got Rick with his beard. And credit to the makeup crew and the actor, how he just looks exhausted and worn out, which really does show us why they need the prison. Although you're kind of wondering why they haven't found another place to like hunker down for periods at a time. And kind of even the question I would brought up is like, after like a month or two, why didn't anyone go like, maybe we should check back out the farm? At the very least, to swing by. I mean, maybe they mentioned that real quick. I did go to, my friend of mine is having like Walking Dead premieres, parties kind of thing. So I was at one of those, which is why the episode's almost halfway over by the time I get back here. But, so, obviously people are talking, so I might have missed a line or two. But you kind of do wonder, like, if they're this exhausted, we gotta find a place to stay and hunker down. Why haven't you found another farm to do that? Especially out in rural areas, we would be able to think, after you just pick like a 10-mile radius and kind of kill every walker in that area. Yeah, there's the risk of a herd, but you can probably start to, plan for those. Find an area that still has some fencing, repair those fences. The walkers are probably not going to push through a fence if there's no reason to. You got a far enough distance between where you are and where the walkers, they'll have a fence and they'll probably just walk around it. But I like, as I'm watching here, I called this as soon as I saw it. The zombies in the riot gear. Now I do think those were from the comics. I didn't see the very beginning. I didn't read the very beginning of the. Oh yeah, that's yeah. I gotta bring this up right now. One of the big complaints, because I'm watching the scene as it's going on. When Rick sees like the one person in a civilian garb, he's like, "Oh, there's a civilian. That means walkers from the outside must have gotten in somehow." That's pretty presumptuous, Rick. And you found one person in a civilian suit. You do realize, and as a sheriff, you probably should know this. There's a lot of non-uniformed prison people, or people that work at a prison that are not guards. There is a ton of administrative staff, social workers, computer IT techs, doctors, psychiatrists, plain administrative staff that work at a prison are not in uniforms. That person could have easily been one of them. Or how's this? A lawyer for one of the numerous prisoners, and lo and behold, possibly even that they were how did the prison outbreak? Maybe somebody was sick and got bit on their way to go visit their loved one in prison, and that's how the outbreak started. At least in the prison. That seemed like a rather really kind of one of those things where maybe he could have made that more of a point. Well, somebody could have went, well, how do we know she just is not just someone that works here, or a lawyer visiting a client, just to kind of bring up the more of a possibility. But I digress, because I wanted to talk the zombie guys. As soon as I saw them, I was like, Left 4 Dead 2, because in Left 4 Dead 2, when you get to the New Orleans levels, they have zombies that are in full riot gear, and they're much harder to beat. And especially that scene where Daryl shoots his crossbow right at the zombie's face, and his face mask just deflects it. Although at the same time, I'm like, those are kind of the safest zombies you've come across, because they can't really bite you because they have the face masks on. Although I did love this when Rick rips the gas mask off the one zombie, and it's just the gas mask has become so embedded on the zombie's face that when he rips it off, he tears off the zombie's face. And even he, who before this, there's very blasé about killing zombies and smashing them through the face, chopping off limbs. Even he had this look like, oh my god, did that just happen? Oh. It really good. I really like that little moment. I just want to get Daryl. We don't need no armor. Come on. Actually, I'm really surprised that you would have not picked up on some body armor by this point, considering we now have a couple of months where they're on the road. You figure at some point they would have found a soldier zombie or an armory somewhere, and would at least grab some vests, possibly some helmets. Those should be a really good job. Or even making some makeshift armor at this point. You really would expect that a group surviving would start wearing clothes that they're reinforced to protect themselves. Especially if you're like them, they're constantly on the run, you're constantly running into walkers. Get some bike chaps. Leather. A zombie really is not going to be able to bite through leather. So a leather jacket and some leather pants, put steel-tip boots on, or at the very least gloves. There's nobody wears gloves even. They're like killing the zombies and they're poking them through the chain link fence, which is a really good tactic for what they're doing. We were actually kind of commenting, if we were in that situation, we would just stay behind the chain link fence, get like a really long spear-like object, and just kind of kill the zombies from in the back, and lo and behold, that's kind of what they started doing. Which, for zombie fans, very good. Nowadays, you really want to try to do what fans of the genre would always say they would do in such a scenario. Zombie fans really like that. It's when you don't do that, you start going, oh my god. Zombie fans are particular groups. And it's kind of like how they always do, if you notice, half the zombie movies, and it's normally the ones people sometimes don't like as much, when they go, oh, the government's going to nuke the place because they're zombies, well, they're evil for doing that. Basically, every fan's like, fuck that, I'm with the government. There's zombies there. You nuke that shit. That's right. That's good job, government. Nuke that fucking town. It's why 28 weeks. 28 weeks later works good because they kind of they don't portray the armies kind of coming in like we're just gonna kill fucking everything as being evil. It's kind of like it's a necessary evil. Like no one thinks it's wrong to do it. They kind of agree, but they don't want to be in that situation. That's much more better. That's a better balance. But that's something for another review. I might start doing a bunch of horror reviews, and probably 28 days later and 28 weeks later will be up there for kind of a lead up to Halloween. So we'll make it my horror movie reviews. But I digress. I really should have put the warning for spoiler warning. But yeah, there's spoilers, and we'll get into the two big ones. One, Herschel and his leg. He got bit. They chopped the leg off. I don't know if he's gonna make it because they did show that there would be the cross. And right now, I'm thinking he's the one that's gonna go. I don't know how many episodes, if he's signed up for how many. It'd be a shame because everyone really likes Herschel. He's kind of almost unkillable. Or well, he's not like Daryl, who's almost unkillable at this point, or Rick, who's like unkillable, just because they're too popular with the fans. I think the studio would be like, whoa. We don't want to get rid of the one person, the people that come back for. Although Herschel's fairly popular too, not quite their level. I'm still surprised T-Dog hasn't been killed off yet. For as much as they really don't use him. But Herschel losing the leg, I could easily see him not, especially at his age. Somebody having your leg cut off. It's that's a tough one. That's a tough one to live through. I mean, yes, they did the tourniquet and all that, but still, this is the shock of that, and you're already kind of exhausted. That maybe having I guess a slow he gets to say goodbye to his family and all that. That might be what happens next episode. But it was a brutal scene, and they really did that very effectively for a real, oh, type of moments. And oh yeah, this is another thing, as I see it pop up almost in the same spot. Now, for those of you that don't know or have forgotten, I'm from New Jersey, and doing the recordings here, and this is being done right during the height of the presidential debate. New Jersey is one of those states where it's so solid, like, nobody questions where it's going, election-wise, that this has been the first time I've seen an Obama ad on TV, and we're like 3 weeks away. Yeah, about 3 weeks away from the election. Romney has put nothing out here, so it's interesting that he's picked the zombie show to be in. I don't know. That's just a small point I wanted to make. Back to characters, especially related to Herschel, literally in this case, they seem to be trying to bring up this little, I guess, relationship between Beth and Rick's son, which Carl, it's kind of, I think it looks a little awkward just because Carl is obviously so much younger than her. Where, yeah, he's kind of having the feelings, but she looks like, I mean, unless she just looks older than she is, or the actress playing her is supposed to be playing younger, and it's just, the audience doesn't realize that she's maybe supposed to be 14, and Carl's now supposed to be 12. That, okay, you can kind of see that. I don't know if that's a subplot they're just going to drop or what. I don't think so. I think, it's first episode of the season. They're laying stuff down for future episodes. Anything else? Well, yeah, we got the relationship is kind of building up between Carol and Daryl. That's kind of already been hinting at, and let's face it, there is a ton of fanfic out there about that one. Actually, let's face it, there's a ton of fanfic about anything out there. I haven't looked for it, but I guarantee you there's a fanfic with Rick and Herschel out there. 50% chance there's going to be a comment below somewhere linking somebody to that. I guess we'll now move on to the final spoiler or event of the episode, which was, of course, the reveal that there is now a bunch of prisoners that were surviving. They've survived in that spot for a very long time. Actually, the first thing I saw when we see them at the end, when they kind of lock themselves in the cafeteria, and they're like, oh my god, there's people. You're kind of... Well, my reaction was, oh look, we have new cannon fodder for the season. Which is kind of really why you constantly kind of need to find other groups of survivors and combine with them so you can kill people off. Or else, you start getting to the point where you really can't get rid of any of the characters, because then you won't have any characters to be interacting with and have your drama. And the longer you keep a character, it does become harder to kill them. Yeah, because you have fans are tuning in to see their favorite characters, kind of like Daryl, and such. It's gonna be very hard to knock him off. But it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Obviously, they're just because they did certain things in the comics, they're not going to necessarily do that here. And the creator of the comics has made that quite clear, because he also writes for the show, and he said on several occasions that one of the things he likes about doing the show is he can take events and do them differently and do characters differently. So if he had an idea like, what if I'd killed this character off? How would this have changed things? So we'll see how this all goes. Although I'm sure the general plot will still follow. We might we'll get to probably Maryland with the town. That'll be an interesting one to do if we ever get that far. And I wonder if we'll ever get to the point where it'll meet up with the comics. It'll be very interesting then. It kind of be what happens sometimes in manga, where they're making the animes, and the anime catches up to the actual mangas, and they are no longer, they have to take them in different directions. I think Full Metal Alchemist, that happened, where the show caught up to the anime, or the show caught up to the comic, in Japan manga. And the show was popular that they was like, well, we can't just stop and wait for you to spend like a year or two to produce another season's worth of mangas, so we're just gonna have to continue on and assume how this would go. And that's why they kind of went off in a very weird direction. I've only caught a few episodes of that show, so don't hold me too much to that. So that pretty much wraps it up. Oh, I suppose I should talk a little bit about Machan's portrayal actress. Again, we've already hinted or talked about her a little bit, but I don't know. The people I was with, they let's see if I pronounce her name right. Danani, Garia, or any of you that watch me know I'm bad at pronouncing names. Garira, yeah, whatever. Diana. A couple of people I was with criticized her performance. She just kind of seemed, again, she only had a few lines. She's, I think, really, I would hold any judgment back until next episode, where it looks like we're finally going to get to see the town and the governor, and she'll have more to talk about, or at least more character interaction, hopefully. So we'll see how that all goes down. And also, before, I don't think I mentioned this, but when they cut off Herschel's leg, I was really thinking, okay, they really have to give Herschel a peg leg, get him a parrot to keep with. See where I'm going with this, right? I want someone on the internet to do a Photoshop with Herschel as a pirate now, playing with that song, of course, going, "You are a pirate." Come on, somebody out there, do it. One of you, link it. Alright, well, that is pretty much it. I think I've already talked a little bit about next episode, where it looks like we're going to get a little bit more introduction, probably to the prisoners. I think the governor will finally be introduced. We'll see the new, finally, an actual antagonist, which is something this series hasn't had outside of the zombies, which are a little bit more like a force of nature. So we'll have a new change there, at least something new for the series. Do plan on doing these reviews every week. People seem to like them. Of course, these tend to not go as long as my regular movie reviews, only because you're only getting part of the story each time. Unfortunately, I tried to get a couple of people that I watched this with to do a Google Hangouts and record and then post that, but as soon as I left, they decided to go and do something else on Xbox, so they didn't want to do the recording. So maybe next week I'll be able to convince them to have somebody, so we have somebody else here, we can have some more interaction. I think that'll really improve the reviews. I think I've said this a couple of times. I really do realize that me as an individual, probably not the best reviewer, but if you give me somebody else with me, I think the quality shall improve greatly. But I get enough of you guys to watch. And if you're new, welcome. Well, tune in, like, subscribe, all that stuff everyone YouTube user always asks you to do in that sentence. Not make much sense. Grammar failure. Kind of trying to stretch it out to 30 minutes, but I think we can just kill it off now. So yeah, tune in for next week. I plan, I think, doing a few horror reviews coming up for the week of Halloween. So I would tune in for that, and possibly doing some rants and stuff just about genres. So stay tuned. Check out some new stuff. Hopefully we'll get some more videos up, and of course more movie and game reviews, especially now that stuff's coming out. I hopefully will pick up. The only problem with game reviews is I tend to review stuff so late that it's almost not worth doing the game reviews a lot of times. I mean, you guys have seen them when they pop up on my site. They are my page. They're always like a month or two out after it's come out. Everyone's reviewed them already. It's because I tend to play stuff very slow. You know, I got other stuff in my life. Sorry, guys. All right, I'm dragging. Signing off. Tune in next time.